Banger after banger.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Big Hero Chris back at you with another one. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, give me a thumbs up, ring the notification bell, hit me up on Twitter, TikTok, the community post, you already know the vibes. And I'm back at you with your AEW Dynamite review. Now, before I get into the review, a little behind the scenes of how I operate my little review shows or whatever. So most times, a good majority of the time, I'll record right after the show, so it'll still be fresh in my old noodle and my old noggin or whatever. But last night for Dynamite, man, I was watching it, but I was also very exhausted, like from work or whatever, and I didn't get my after work nap in, so I was tired, man. It was a couple times during Dynamite where I nodded off, man. I fell asleep, man. I missed matches. I missed the main event. I missed like the majority of the main event. And by the time I woke up, it was like 11 something. I'm like, I don't feel like recording right now, so I'm gonna do it today, which is my off day. So if I'm uploading this a little bit later than I normally do, that's why. But it did give me a chance to rewatch Dynamite and get a refreshed perspective, get, wide awake, get a little food in me, get some energy drink in me, you know what I mean? So I can watch this with a clear eye view. And what I saw was a great episode of Dynamite. This is what I've been missing for a while now. There's some things on the show I didn't really necessarily care for, but all the good stuff outweighed the stuff that I didn't really care for. So without any further ado, man, let's just get into this review. You don't want to hear me complain or whine or talk about my day or whatever. You want to hear me talk about Dynamite, which kicked off with a backstage segment with Renee Paquette and MJF. And he's talking about the fact that he's going to be fighting Juice Robinson in a little bit for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and how he wants to get his hands on the Bullet Club. And as they're talking, like before they even finish talking, he calls up Adam Cole. He's checking in on his boy. He's relieved that Adam Cole was finally out of he finally escaped from Roderick Strong's house. Roddy and the Kingdom held this man hostage, so he's just checking up on him. And as he's on the phone with Adam Cole, Roddy pulls up. It's like he has an Adam sensor. Like anytime Adam Cole's around, it's like, Adam! So then he pulls up and Adam Cole heads up immediately. But Roddy's talking to MJF, and he's like, listen, even though we think you're the devil, the guy behind the devil mask, let's just say hypothetically, allegedly, you're not, right? Let's say that we have a mutual friend by the name of Adam. So, because he's more of my friend of yours and blah, 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 maybe we should work together. We should become friends. And MJF is not entertained by this at all. Matter of fact, he rolled Roderick Strong out of frame, and he's just yelling and screaming, and the Kingdom's running after him. And that was a pretty funny shot. So after this, we get to the first match of the night, which was between MJF and Juice Robinson for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And there was a brief second where I thought maybe Juice Robinson could be the one that finally ends the streak of, MJF holding the Dynamite Diamond Ring or whatever. And that wasn't the case. MJF ended up getting the win, even though you had the ass boys trying to interfere. They were cheating. You had Jay White on commentary. No card blade. I was kind of disappointed by that. But we did see MJF beat old Juicy Juice to still be your Dynamite Diamond Ring bearer, holder, wearer, whatever. But after the match, you had the ass boys jump MJF. They're putting the boots to him. And then all of a sudden, the Kingdom come out. They try to help out MJF. You got Roddy in the wheelchair. He's handing out orders. He has the giraffe with him. And the Kingdom, they get their ass whipped. They get thrown over the top rope. They're pretty useless, all right? Then you had the Acclaim come out, and they made the save, and they run off the Bullet Club. And then after this, you had MJF accepting the challenge of the 8-man tag. And I think this is going to take place next week. And if MJF wins, he gets to get his championship back. And if the Bullet Club win, I guess they keep the championship until Full Gear and whatever. So then you had the Kingdom saying, hey, MJF. You had Roddy saying, hey, Max! And MJF's like, shut up. I'm standing right in front of you. I hear you. What do you want? And the Kingdom are like, you're going to pick us, right? And MJF says, hell no, I'm not going to pick you. And then the Acclaim is like, yo, so that means you're going to pick us, right? And MJF is like, no, I'm not going to pick you either, you weirdo. So as MJF was walking off, he runs into the god of professional wrestling, the best belt machine, better than Gotch, better than Hackenschmidt, Kenny Omega. He comes out, he's like, listen, I know you got a lot going on, but you got one more thing you got to deal with. Listen, right now Kenny Omega is the longest reigning AEW champion. And in 3 days, MJF is going to break that streak. So Kenny pretty much lays it out and listen, I want a shot at the AEW championship this Saturday at Collision, and then we'll see. We'll see who will be the longest reigning AEW champion. And then it close out with Kenny saying 3 days, bitch. So that was a lot going on, and this took place during the first 30 fucking minutes of the show. So it was pretty much dominated by MJF, the Bullet Club, the Acclaim, and Kenny Omega. I'm not complaining, but I'm like, god damn, that was a lot to talk about. And it doesn't get any better for MJF, because later in the show you had a pre-tape segment with Wardlow laying out why he's still mad at MJF, why MJF is a target, and he pretty much said that, listen, Wardlow said that he had the biggest win of his career against MJF. And what happened? MJF goes on to win the AEW championship. He's like the top guy in the company. Meanwhile, Wardlow, he's out here looking like a youth pastor. Nobody really cares about him anymore. He lost the TNT championship twice. Nobody really gives a shit about Wardlow. So Wardlow is out for revenge. He wants to get his hands on MJF. On top of all that, you have Samoa Joe propositioning MJF, saying, listen, you need a friend. Your boy's injured. You got the weirdos with the neck braces. They're weird. You got the Acclaim, they're weird too. But listen, I got your back. Only condition being, I want a shot at the AEW championship. So you have MJF versus the world at this point. You have Kenny Omega, Samoa Joe, Wardlow, the Bullet Club. You got Max Caster being weird. You got all these things happening. And on top of that, we still don't know who's behind the Devil's Mask. So MJF has a lot on his plate right now. And on top of all that, at Full Gear, he's wrestling twice again. He's wrestling Jay White for the championship. But he's also wrestling the Ass Boys for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. So MJF, my boy, my hat's off to you if I was wearing a hat. You got a lot going on, but I respect you. I respect your grind. Keep doing your thing, young blood. After we get through all this, we get into the rest of the show. The next match on the card was the Dark Order taking on Hook and Rob Van Dam. And I'm pretty sure this was one of the points where I fell asleep because I like Rob Van Dam, I like Hook. That wasn't a problem. The problem is I don't give a shit about the Dark Order. And I know they have a heel turn or whatever, but it's the Dark Order. Who fucking cares at this point? Hook and Rob Van Dam win. Good for them. After this, you had one of those silent movies from Tony Storm. And I wasn't really paying attention, but I was kind of paying attention. And I think Tony Storm is going to go after one of the women's championships, or either the TBS championship or the AEW women's championship. And we'll get into that a little bit more later in the video, but that was that. But then this is where things picked up. This part had my interest, because now we get into the part of the show where Tony Khan reveals his present for Sting. He has a big surprise. So Sting and Darby Allin come out and they're talking, and then Tony Schiavone reveals what the surprise is. I'm thinking, is it going to be a statue? Is it going to be the Hall of Fame? Is it going to be a pizza party? Because everyone loves a pizza party. It was none of those things. It was Ric Flair. Ric Flair officially made his AEW debut. I don't know if he's signed or if he's with the company, but Ric Flair did make his way out to the ring. He's hugging, he's crying. I'm thinking he's going to take his clothes off and start elbow dropping his jacket like he normally does, which always pops me. He didn't do any of those things, but he's pretty much giving Sting his props. He's giving Sting his flowers. And he's saying, listen, brother, big man, I'm going to be with you. The Nature Boy is going to be out there with you every step of the way. Woo! He's going to be out there. He's going to be willing and dealing. So I'm assuming he's going to be with Sting for his retirement tour or whatever. So, that's cool. But there's more. Christian Cage comes out. And my God, Christian Cage, you. He comes out and he says, listen, I know nobody's father is dead, but I also know that God isn't real, because if he was real, Ric Flair would have been dead 20 years ago. And I'm like, good God, man. Christian is evil. He's possibly the most evil man in AEW right now. But I think there's someone who's in the running for most evil man we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. But Christian pretty much says, and listen, I want a 6-man tag team match at Full Gear, the Christian Coalition versus Darby, Sting, and a partner of their choosing. So that's going to be a thing going forward. And then later in the night, you had Edge talking to Renee Paquette. And then you had Darby and Sting pull up and say, listen, we know Christian is your boy, but he's also a piece of shit, man. Get your head out of your ass and get focused, man. Help us out. But, Edge is still conflicted. He doesn't want to fight Christian. So there's that. So there's the possibility of Edge being the third man for Darby and Sting. But I'm throwing this out there as well. Ric Flair's right there, he says he still has one more left in him, brother. So who knows? The old Nation Boy might lace up the boots one more time. I'm just playing. I don't want to see that at all. Please don't let that happen. Please, God, no. So then after this, you had Chris Jericho talking to Renee. He's talking about how, he's never been assaulted and beat up like that before, like it was against Powerhouse Hobbs. And he recognizes the fact that Don Callis has a whole family. But Chris Jericho, he's been around the block a time or two. He's got friends. He may not have family, but he has friends. And maybe it's time for him to make a call. Someone who are even bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm like, yo, please, for the love of God, don't get the Big Show involved. I don't want to see this at all. Please, other people. Call other people. Don't call the Big Show, please. And don't call the Jericho Appreciation Society. I don't want to see that at all. Maybe we get Daniel Garcia involved. That's it, man. But besides that, no Big Show. No. After this, we had, for the Ring of Honor 6-man championships, you had the Elite, the Elite taking on the Hardy Party, the Hardy Boys, and Isaiah Cassidy. And going into this match, I wasn't really caring for it, but coming out of it, it was a lot of fun. It was one of the best matches of the night. And I gotta be honest with you, since coming into AEW, this is probably the best the Hardy Boys have looked so far, in my opinion. They look really good. They didn't look like the 1999 Hardy Boys, but they look good for the 2023 Hardy Boys. The Elite ended up getting the win. It was this cool spot at the end where Isaiah Cassidy went for a springboard and he missed, but Hangman came out of nowhere with a buckshot lariat and got the win for his team. So after the match, you hit the Elite, they're celebrating, but the other man that I was talking about that was in the running for the most evil person in AEW, whose house? Swerve's house. And I gotta make sure Swerve isn't busting into my crib right now, because he pulled up at Hangman Adam Page's house. He's got his feet on the couch. Prince Nana is eating up all the food. And probably one of the most hilarious parts of this whole thing was, one, Swerve tore up one of the Hangman's kids' finger paintings that was on the refrigerator. But two was he essentially what he did was he cut a promo on a baby. He's talking for a good 3 minutes. He's like, listen, your dad's gonna pay for what he did to me. He cost me and all this is because Hangman lost him a shot at the TNT Championship. And he's like, listen, your dad's gonna pay for what he did to me. Your whole family's gonna pay. And he throws a t-shirt on the baby's head. And the whole time, you had the Elite watching this. And like I said, this is taking place in Philadelphia. Swerve is in North Carolina. And what made me laugh about this the most was he has Hangman running. He's gonna run from Philadelphia to North Carolina to catch this man. So that was pretty much the highlight of the show for me this far. Swerve busting into someone's house and cutting a promo on a baby. Whose house it is, man? Lock your doors, because you don't know if Swerve is going to pop up at your house and cut a promo on your kids or whatever. So lock your doors. Swerve is on the loose, ladies and gentlemen. So after this, we get the one women's match of the show. And for whatever reason, it's Shida versus Ruby Soho. And it's for the AEW Women's Championship. Why? I honestly don't know. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, man. This match, I was expecting a little bit more, because Ruby Soho and Hikaru Shida are really good. And this match wasn't all that good, man. It wasn't all that it's cracked up to be. Maybe my expectations were a little too high, but it wasn't good. Hikaru Shida ended up winning the match. And while this match is taking place, it was announced that it's going to be a fatal 4-way on Rampage between Abaddon, Sky Blue, Anna Jay, and Willow Nightingale. Good God Almighty, I'm definitely going to be watching that match. But it's going to be a fatal 4-way, and I think whoever wins that match is going to wrestle Shida this Saturday on Collision. So we'll see where this goes. But yeah, man, this wasn't a good match. And on top of all that, you had Timeless Toni Storm come out, and she's out there making faces and waving her arms around, and the screen's black and white, and she just looking confused. So I don't know if Toni Storm is challenging for her championship or not. So there's that. But we fast forward to the main event, and what a main event this was, man. You had the Blackpool Combat Club and Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli, who's very European, taking on the team of Orange Cassidy and Okada, who's making his in-ring AEW debut. And listen, man, this match was a lot of fun. You had some of the top wrestlers in the world in this match, man. And this was a really good match, man. You had Bryan Danielson and Okada facing off. You had Okada and Claudio facing off. And then you had Orange Cassidy and Claudio face off. I'm like, I wouldn't mind seeing them in a match. Surprise, surprise, next week it's going to be Orange Cassidy taking on Claudio for the International Championship. Claudio ended up getting the win. He pinned Orange Cassidy for the Blackpool Combat Club. And you had the best friends hug, you had the Rainmaker pose, and then you had Okada hit Bryan Danielson in the face. And he hit him really hard because Bryan Danielson, he's on the sidelines, he's on the ring apron, he's holding his face. You had the doctors looking at him. You had the Blackpool Combat Club coming out, they're pulling up. You had Will Yuta and Hook, they're looking at each other, so they might be wrestling sometime in the future. Okada, he's making fun of Bryan Danielson. The only thing that was missing from this was Nigel McGuinness on commentary making fun of Brittle Bryan. That would have took this thing over the top, but you know. So there's a lot going on for the main event scene, man, as far as AEW goes, with MJF and his league of Rogue Gallery or whatever. And then you got Bryan Danielson and Okada. Then you got Cesaro and Orange Cassidy wrestling next week, man. And then you got fucking Kenny Omega and MJF wrestling this week, man. Oh, I'm glad I got enough rest so I can talk about this and I can have more energy and more excitement to tell you guys what's going on. So with all that being said, man, this episode of Dynamite definitely gets the honorary W because goddamn Tony Khan, he came out swinging, man. He heard people talking about AEW being cold, and he's like, look, I got something for your ass. And he gave us this episode of Dynamite, so I need another nap at this point. But with that being said, man, what did you guys think of this week's episode of Dynamite? Are you going to be watching Collision this Saturday? I know I am, and I'm going to have the review coming up with that as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Of course, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You guys take care. Be easy. I'm out. Lock your doors because Swerve might bust in your house, man, and make it Swerve's house. Be easy. Peace. Whose house?